As someone who's been running for many years at this point, I'm over 10 years into this sport and been very consistent with running the past 3 or 4 years. I've had plenty of ups and downs as any athlete would, or as any human being would have with any endeavor, right? I mean, I think that's life, and I think we're all familiar with that. Things aren't smooth sailing, and we learn from the heartaches and the failures, and it's not always great, right? Fortunately, I've always had a pretty positive perspective with running. In this video, I want to talk about the thing I hate about running the most. As someone who's gotten very close and spent a lot of time with running, there's a couple things, but one thing in particular that I have a really hard time with when it comes to running, and I'm someone who loves the sport and runs basically every day. So the thing I hate the most about running is how reliant I get on it or how much I need it to feel good. And it's actually quite interesting as I think about this more is there's a couple moments that stand out to me where I felt miserable, and a lot of it was because I couldn't run. So any runner that's had an injury while they're training for a race, or someone who just loves running, understands and has been through that heartache and how painful it is to just not be able to do something you love, right? And honestly, that's one of the things I hate about running, and is something I've been working on a lot myself, is if I'm in a period of like maybe needing to recover, or there's a period in between like really, June and November, December of last year where I was just really burnt up, and I wasn't injured. It was just, I think mentally I was fried. I don't know if there's some sort of adrenal fatigue or what, but I had accomplished a lot in the previous 2.5 years. I did several 100-milers, a lot of 50Ks, a couple 50-milers. I ran 10 marathons in 10 days. I ran a sub-3 hour marathon. And I did all of that within the span of a couple years. Sometimes, some people, it would take their whole life and career in running to be able to do some of the things I've done. And it was because I loved running so much that I was able to do it. But that led to like a massive period of burnout. And what was really tough for me is when I had to really make a conscious choice to not run, and I was making that choice for myself, I was still miserable because I was and am quite literally addicted to running. One of my good friends, Michael Greer, he talks about how, that runner's high, or the endorphins that you get from running is very similar to like, a high from an addiction or some sort of drugs. Not that he's done drugs, but he says he imagines it's like a very similar thing where he'll just wake up at 3, 4 in the morning without an alarm, because his body wants that itch. It wants that run, those endorphins, the runner's high. And I've definitely experienced that. And so having to take time off from running, it's like experiencing like almost legitimate withdrawals, or almost a level of depression. And so, it's kind of a weird thing to say, but it's the thing I hate the most about running, is when I'm not running, I don't feel as great as I do when I am running. And I haven't quite figured out yet if that's something I need to work on and get over, or it's just a signal saying, hey, you need to make sure you be in a space where you can be running, because it's like a calling, right? Like there's something to be said about it being unhealthy, right? I could get that perspective of, well, maybe your whole identity doesn't need to be wrapped up in running, and I agree with that. There's also something to be said about like not feeling great is a signal or a notification that something needs to change, or that like if you're anxious or depressed, like that is a signal that things aren't right, and a signal that you need to change, right? And so I wonder, or battle in my head, is it an unhealthy relationship with running, or is it a notification that I need to be in a position and take care of myself so that I can run and train? And I haven't quite made my mind up about that yet, but I'll tell you what, I hate it. I hate when I'm not training because I don't feel that great. So I guess the obvious next step, or the focus should be healthy, take care of myself, recover well, take my recovery seriously so I can be in a position to train, while also trying to battle or determine, is this like an unhealthy relationship? So I don't know, but it's definitely something I've been working on as a runner over the years, especially recently. If you are into running and want to get better and improve, if you want some tips, tricks, or just stories on running, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I post pretty regularly about just the things going on in my training or the things I've learned over the years. So if you don't want to subscribe, all good too. I hope you enjoy the videos. I appreciate your time. I know it's valuable, and I look forward to seeing you on the trail sometime soon.